somehow there are blessings that come from these horrible things. It's so weird. It's so weird how Heavenly Father works, but I know He does work. Some days I feel like I'm an emotional basket case, but I've learned to rely on Him and to trust His plan. This time last year, I didn't think I could feel happy. I didn't think I could feel hope for the future or confidence in myself or whatever, but I've talked many times with many people about this. There's just no way to understand it unless you've gone through it.
All right, welcome to Let Me Tell You, a podcast where people share their experiences with trial and heartache in order to bring comfort, hope, and inspiration to others. This episode is a super special one for me because I have one of my mission companions, and not just one of my mission companions, one of my very, very, very favorite mission companions joining us today. This is Mary, which is very hard for me to say. Anyone who's served a mission understands how hard it is to use the first names because we go by our last names as missionaries. So for me, it's Kennedy. She was Hermana Kennedy on the mission, but she is now Mary Price. So thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going?
She's the best. She's so much fun. I'm so excited about it.
No, I'm not really. I honestly don't know where this favorite mission companion thing came from, but I will take it. That's a huge, huge compliment.
I'm going to tell the backstory. Okay. So, and you fill in any gaps that I forget. This is before we get to the episode, right? Okay. So we met actually in the MTC, the Missionary Training Center in Provo, Utah. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. We were wearing the, yes, we were wearing the same dress, just in different colors.
The same hideous dress.
Right? Because nobody looks great. It's okay. We're not there to be fashion icons. We served in the Dominican Republic. Okay. So she saw me and I think you stopped me and you were like, oh, we have the same dress on. What mission are you going to? And we realized we were going to the same mission of all people in the MTC. That's thousands of people. And we thought, how fun would it be if we were companions and got to wear our dresses together? I mean, really, that's where we were at. So she was leaving before me to go to the DR. And I'd only been there, I don't know how long, maybe a month. I don't know how long. They were doing the temple open house in Santo Domingo. And so my companion and I got to come into the Capitol and help at the open house. And we stayed the night at your apartment with who was your companion? Were you with Saunders?
Oh my gosh, you didn't you? Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Hermana Saunders was my trainer. Yep.
And so we thought we had so much fun that night. We're like, oh, it'd be so much fun if we got to be companions. And the next transfer, we were made companions. We got to open an area and it was the best. And we really did. For anyone who doesn't know, Mary Kennedy, I want to call you Kennedy so bad. She really just has, if the color code, we're talking about the color code, you're a yellow. You are a bright, happy person. That is your natural disposition, it seems. And you just made everything fun. We quoted movie lines all the time and we just laughed all the time. Honestly.
It was so fun. That was good times in the streets of Cambita.
Yeah. Which is it's so helpful to like your companion on the mission because you're together like 24/7.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you don't, it's terrible. Makes every minute, every hour feel like a 1,000 years. So that was super fun.
So the reason that I asked her to be on the podcast is because in December 2023, her sweet husband, shockingly, like all of a sudden passed away, heart attack, correct?
It's actually called an aortic dissection.
Okay, what is that?
So his aorta burst. I like to say exploded because Matt would like that term. Like it sounds more dramatic and like cool, but pretty much his aorta, it was weak. He didn't know it, and he had high blood pressure, and he was not taking medicine for it, and so all of those kind of the perfect storm of his aorta bursting.
Did he know he had high blood pressure? And
he did. He knew he had high blood pressure, and I don't want to speak ill of him, but he thought he could fix it naturally with diet and exercise, and it didn't work.
He wasn't like a big guy or anything like that. No,
he wasn't overweight. He wasn't he seemed healthy. He was tall, skinny, active. Like we were constantly doing stuff, he wasn't a couch potato or anything. So
Yeah.
It was a huge shock.
Yeah. And so and you have 5 kids at the time. I mean, still, you have 5 kids, and your youngest is your was 2? Was she 2 when it happened?
Yeah, she was 2 years old when Matt died. So
Okay. So take us through that day. This is in December 2023. So take us through that day.
December 9th, I will always remember this day because it was our last day together. I mean, it's looking back in hindsight, it's like, what would you do if you knew it was your last day on earth? And I
Well,
have to say, like, I'm really glad we had a good day. I mean, I spent the morning helping make like sandwiches for our word Christmas party later that day. Um, Matt was home with the kids. I think we went to our ward Christmas party. He got to see all of our friends at church and talk to them and stuff. And, just like a typical Saturday at home where, close to the holidays where we're kind of like, oh, what are we going to get the kids for Christmas and trying to think of ideas and whatever else. So I was the next day was Sunday, and I was supposed to be in charge of the refreshments for the state Christmas concert. And so I had to stay up late because I was going to Crumble Cookie to pick up the end of shift cookies that they were not using. So I had to be there, I think like 11:30 or 12 to pick up these cookies.
oh, wow.
Um, and so me and my big girls, Ruby and Belle, stayed up, and I came upstairs and I saw that the bathroom light was on, the door was closed, and I was like, oh, Matt's, probably brushing his teeth and getting ready for bed or whatever. I didn't even say goodbye to him. I didn't, he knew what I was doing. So I was just like changing on my pajamas and putting on real clothes so that I could go get these cookies. And me and the girls went to get the cookies. We came home and I came upstairs. I saw that the bed was like he wasn't in bed, and it looked made still like he hadn't even been in bed. And then I saw that the door was still closed and the light was on. I'm like, that's weird. And so I opened the door and he was laying on the ground and unresponsive. And so I yelled out to Ruby, my oldest. She was, let's see, she must have been like 15 at the time. Um, Call 911. And she came in to the bathroom to help me do CPR. And I mean, I was just kind of like, Matt, wake up, kind of slapping him and stuff. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I don't even know what you do in that situation, but
I don't think
so
anyone does.
no, it was crazy. And Ruby actually had CPR training. So she was like doing CPR, like the chest compressions. I was kind of like, Matt, trying to straighten him out because he was kind of crumpled on the ground. And then next thing I know, these huge big men come into the bathroom. Like they had just come through the front door and they're like, you guys need to get out. We'll take over from here. It was the EMT guys. And let's see, gosh, I don't even know. I mean, I went out. Belle, like the baby had woken up. Belle was sitting with her. And then me and the kids just kind of went in one of the other kids' rooms and we're huddling around. Like we were just sitting on the bed. And I'm like, what do we do? Like what is going on right now? I was just I don't even know I was living in like a weird, surreal movie scene of my life. I don't know. So yeah, then a neighbor actually called me and she's like, Mary, what is going on? I mean, like, the ambulance, the fire truck, all these emergency vehicles were outside our house. She calls me and she's like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, Kathy, can you please come over? I didn't even know what to do. And she came over, she sat with me for a few minutes. And then she's like, I'm going to take the kids to my house, which was just a few houses down. And by that time, it was probably about 20 minutes that the guys had been working on Matt, and a police officer came out and he just said he's gone. Like there was no way there was no heartbeat, no, I think they gave him a shot of something to try and get his heart going, and he was gone. And I don't know. I don't even know. I think I just sat there in shock.
When they came in and started working on him, like, I don't even know if you could remember this. Like, were you thinking they'll get him going again?
Yeah. Well, so a couple years previous, actually, Matt had like he had an ulcer or something where he passed out in the bathroom, but he was awake. Like, but then I tried to bring him into the bedroom to like get him back in bed, and I don't know, he kind of passed out again, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know. And so I was kind of thinking it was this kind of situation again, and I was like, oh, they're gonna get him going. But I have to say this, Bethany, when I found him initially, I knew he was gone. I did not want to admit it because I could see the way he looked. I've never had experience with dead people except for, in a viewing, maybe in the funeral or whatever, where they have makeup and they've been, dressed and looking semi decent. But the way Matt looked, I knew he was gone. I didn't want to admit it. I was like, I don't know. So when they came out and they told me that he was, uh, they couldn't resuscitate him. I kind of knew it was coming, but at the same time, I was like, oh, like there's no way God would let my husband die. I have 5 kids. So Kathy had the kids at her house. She actually came back because her husband then took over with the kids, and Kathy came over and she sat with me the whole night. And then I called my other neighbor, Sarah, who's a member of the church, and she came over, and her and Kathy just sat with me while the police had to do all of these, they asked me all these questions. They were kind of going through like medications and his health history and all sorts of stuff. And let's see, the chaplain came by. He's like, we're calling the funeral home, they'll be here in like an hour and a half. And I just remember coming upstairs and I was like, can I see him? And so I come into my bedroom and here is my husband. Like they had cut off his shirt. And so he's just kind of laying there bare chested on sorry, I hope this isn't too much, but I could see where they had given him shots and all this stuff. And I just took a blanket, like this really fuzzy blanket we have, and just covered him up. And I just sat there on the floor with him, holding his hand and like rubbing his bald head and kind of just thinking, what the crap is happening to me right now? And you know what I was thinking? This is probably going to sound super weird, but I was like, I wonder if he's still here. Like, is he still kind of like, can he see me doing this and like holding his hand and sitting next to him? And it was so weird. It was so weird. Yeah. So the chaplain came, he talked to me. He was actually a really nice guy, a really nice man. And he was just like, are there any scriptures that are comforting to you that you want me to read? And he was kind of telling me the procedures of like when the funeral home comes and whatnot. But yeah, finally the funeral home came and they're like, okay, we'll take it from here. Just wait for us downstairs. And next thing I know, the 2 funeral home guys are, Matt's on a gurney and he's covered up with a quilt. And I just remember seeing that quilt and I'm like, why is it so like happy looking? It was like such bright colors. I mean, now that I'm saying,
But they bring it. They brought it.
yeah, no, it was just part of their thing, I guess. But I don't know. Now that I'm telling you this, I'm like, wow, the stuff that's coming to my head right now, it's really weird. But I remember that quilt and how like comforting it looked. Like some grandma had like pieced it together, and here's my dead husband completely covered, like his head and face and stuff are covered. And I'm just like, wow, they're going to wheel him out of our house for the last time. Like he's gone, crazy. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So that. And then, so and Kathy and Sarah stayed with me that whole time. I mean, I think it was probably like 4 or 5 in the morning that they left, and Kathy went to get the kids and they all came back. And I had to tell the kids that their dad was dead. And you know what?
How did you do that?
I know. I'm not one for beating around the bush. And I just told them, I mean, I didn't even know how to like cushion that. I didn't. So I was just like, you guys, dad's dead. I don't know. I hope I didn't cause like super childhood trauma or something. Hopefully none of them remember that, but yeah, it was just, and I remember trying to tuck them in back in their beds and getting them to sleep. I gave them each a melatonin so that they could fall asleep. And
So what happened the next day? I mean, because now we're going into planning a funeral and doing all this with 5 kids. I just can't even wrap a 2-year-old. You have a 2-year-old and doing all this.
No, I was honestly in a fog. I was just, so the previous night when all this went down with Matt, I tried calling my sister. I called my mom. My mom was the only one who happened to pick up the phone. Like, I called my friend Julie, who has been one of my best friends here. And she's this older lady. And we have always been, as soon as we met, we just kind of became good friends. I called her the night before. So Julie actually called me. I don't know. I remember getting a phone call from her probably around 5 or 6 in the morning. Like, Mary, I saw that I missed a call from you. What's going on? And I called her when I got the message and I was like, Julie, Matt's dead. Like, he died last night. And she was like, and she just came over. She brought my kids McDonald's breakfast and she came over and was just by my side for the next 3 months.
Oh, wow.
She did not leave me. She helped me through the funeral. She helped me plan. She took phone calls. She responded to texts for me. She did all sorts of things. But the bishop, I then had found out. I think my neighbor Sarah had texted the bishop and told him what had happened. And they showed up at my house the next morning. I was just, I don't know. I think probably one day I'll be able to look back on this and like see it, I don't know. I think it would be interesting to see, like, because I really have not a lot of memories about, specific memories about everything. And I would like to see what actually happened those next few days. But the bishop came by with the elders quorum and Relief Society presidents. I mean, from that point on, our house was like a revolving door of people. And I am so thankful for that. I remember one thing that I do remember is, people offering to take my kids, like, oh, we'll take the kids to our house and let them whatever. And I was like, I need the kids here. Like, I do not want them away from me. I don't want them to think I'm abandoning them or like I can't handle
Yeah.
them or whatever, and I knew I needed to keep my kids close and together. Like, we just needed to be going through this as a family, not me and the kids separately. So
Yeah.
the kids, we just had tons of people coming in our house and friends. People brought stuff for the kids.
One thing that I can say for you, just knowing you, is because I think a lot of people struggle when someone has a death in their family or something. We're like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? I feel like with you, I'd be like, oh, you can show up. You can show up at her house. She'll be fine. She won't be offended. She won't be annoyed. Yeah. Yeah. And so I bet that people knew that about you. I love that.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, they must have. But I also have such a good friend, like such a good community here. And I don't know, even if, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is my personality. And they just knew that they could come by because people just
Yeah.
kept coming and coming. And I would look, go outside to get some fresh air. I would see like paper plates on my front porch or a huge thing of toilet paper or, games for the kids or whatever, and that seriously healed my soul. And I know people like death is people are always curious about death. And I just kind of I told the story to people. If they wanted to know it, I told them. And, ooh, I don't know. I think with each telling of that night, the story of that night, it honestly helped me to process what was going on. And it helped me to, one thing I just couldn't forget how Matt looked. And I needed that out of my head. So just talking about him and talking about that night and everything like really helped me to, I don't know, just to process what was going on. So those poor souls who had to listen to me talking and oh my God.
You know what? I don't know because I remember you came to visit when you came to visit the first time and we were hanging out and I remember and I shouldn't have been surprised but I'm like you were just so matter of fact about it. And I loved that. I loved it because like you said people are curious and there are questions and for me it's always how did you handle that? How did you go through that? Not necessarily the details of every little thing that happened but how did you deal with that? And you were just very open and honest and I love that about your personality is I don't know. It's just always something I always knew where I stood with you. You're just an open book and I love it. It puts people at ease, I think.
I think so. I mean, there was another lady actually in the ward who her husband passed away from cancer probably about a month after Matt died. But, it was cancer. They knew it was coming, kind of. That doesn't make it any easier. But
Right.
her personality was such that she did not want anyone coming over
Yeah.
at all, and she did not want dinner. She didn't want help. She didn't want whatever, which I respect, like whatever is going to help the person get through their grief and, to process what's going on in this new adjustment in their life. Like, to each his own for sure. But for me, I hope Heavenly Father blesses every single person who helped my family, especially that first week. God bless them all because they really did. They helped the kids. They helped me. They just showing up. I don't know. I think that's the big thing about death is no one knows what to say. No one knows what to do. But you know what? Show up with some toilet paper. Show up with a pack of paper plates or show up with Play-Doh for the kids. I don't know. I don't know what whatever they need. But I think just showing up. I had a friend that morning, Sunday morning, Brittany, who is just such a dear friend. And she just comes in and I remember her coming in. I was sitting on the couch with someone else, another visitor, and she comes in and she just looks at me like, and I could see her tearing up, and her husband is in the kitchen putting in this big thing of Panera bagels and cream cheese. Like he just puts it in the kitchen, and she just comes over and gives me like the biggest hug and sits with me. And I don't know why her face, like it always just kind of like, that is one thing I remember is her face and how she was just mourning with those who are mourning, and gosh, that helped me too. Just to see people's love and to see their feelings for me, for my husband, for my kids,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but
Are you kidding? Are you
no,
kidding? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry about this.
no. Well, I mean, it's been almost 2 years. You would think that I could talk
Yeah.
about things without,
No, no, no. Grief doesn't work that way. It doesn't
yeah,
work.
no,
It doesn't do that.
it really doesn't. But I just remember thinking how thankful I was for all the people who showed up for our family. I mean,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
I think, and I talked to Lonnie, who was the first guest episode. We've talked about this where I feel like death and like the grief, it's like you're carrying this heavy thing, and every so often someone helps you like take something out of it. Like they just help you, and you just keep moving along because you got to keep going, right? But people, it's like because I'm a visual person, this is what I picture. I just picture friends along the way just being like, let me just take that little thing from you to make it a little bit lighter for you. So the grief doesn't really go away, but it just gets a little bit lighter because you're in this point of, and I witnessed this, when my dad died, and I was up there where my mom lives, and just seeing all the people that came over and reached out, and it's like this feeling of, oh yeah, I'm not doing this alone. I can call that person. Now I know I can reach out to them for this. And people not even come out of the woodwork. They're standing right there next to you. They're your neighbors. And they want to help. They want to be a part of helping you. But a lot of times they don't know what to do. And a lot of times they do really amazing things that you would have never thought of, that you'd have been like, wow, that's actually really helpful. Like, I'm really grateful you did that. So I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. You know what? I had a friend who dropped off some vitamins for me, and it was not like a multivitamin. It was like specific vitamins or supplements for something. She's like, you need to take care of yourself. Like, take these every day. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I saw so many people in this is December, right? Like flu season, whatever. I saw so many people in the next few weeks and I didn't get sick. I didn't get like, I just was strong in my body, and I don't know. I'll attribute it to the vitamins and the supplements that she brought over, but I just thought that was so sweet that she's like, you need to take care of yourself and make sure you are getting what you need.
So how did you go through the holidays? I mean, honestly, you go through the funeral, but again, little kids, Christmas, things like that. How did you do that? Tell me about that.
Well, besides Christmas, oh gosh, such a crazy time. Matt, such a terrible time to die. I mean, seriously.
It really could have made it
So
easier if he could have picked
I,
a different
I
spot.
know that week actually was George and Hannah's birthday. They both had a birthday that week, and my ward just took it. They just, I swear, it was like another revolving door of gifts. A sister on the ward made them each like this beautiful cake and presents and squishmallows. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we can't, where am I going to put all these squishmallows? It's like, but the kids felt loved and they felt special in the midst of this horrible thing that just happened to our family. But Christmas, same thing, like the bishop that Sunday morning that he came over right after Matt died, he's like, what do you need? Like, what can I help you with? And I was like, Bishop, I was like, I haven't even Christmas shopped yet. I always wait until the last minute. I mean, maybe I had a few things, but I was like, I can give someone my debit card. And if someone could just go get me some stuff for the kids, that would be awesome. And he's like, we'll take care of it. And my I think they had sent her on like a Sign Up Genius or some sort of Google Doc or whatever of just like, this is what they want. And the word just did everything. I've honestly never seen such a big Christmas. Um, I remember sitting there. Well, it was funny. So a friend had us over for Christmas Eve. And the lady who was in charge of all these gifts, she's like, Mary, when can we come over and drop off all these presents? I was like, well, we're going to so-and-so's house for dinner. If you want, I'll just leave the house unlocked. You guys can, do the drop off then. And it was like Santa had thrown up all over our house. I mean, there were so many presents. And I remember the next morning being Christmas and I'm just sitting there kind of in a fog, but the kids are just ripping into all these gifts and like, oh my gosh. And, it was not, I mean, it was nice. And I was so thankful for the love that our ward just, showered on us, and mostly to the kids though. Christmas is such a fun time and
Yeah.
it could have been really different, Yeah. I mean,
Well, and it's almost a super hard time, obviously, for him to choose to go at that
right.
point,
Mhm.
but at the same time, what a beautiful distraction for
Yeah.
kids, to have something to be excited about and all that kind of stuff instead
True.
of
Yeah.
just the heaviness, right?
Yeah.
So moving forward, like how did that look, kids going back to school, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, they had been off school, so he passed away on December 10th. So the kids actually stayed home from school until Christmas break. So they probably had a good month off. And I had emailed all the teachers and principals or whatever and told them what happened. And so, of course, they were excused from all things. But yeah, when January rolled around and they all went back to school, and I don't know. I mean, it was really weird to start life. Here I actually, just to backtrack for a minute, like I remember the Sunday morning, I had to go walk the dog, and I'm outside walking the dog and I see people walking or driving or whatever. And I'm like, here I am. My husband just died. And these people are living their lives like normal. Like, how does that work? Like, this is a bunch of bullcrap. Pardon my language. Caesar, edit that out.
I love you. I love
No,
you so much.
no, but I was just like, I cannot believe I'm like in this fog of despair and grief, and people are just going to work or going to church or doing whatever. And I kind of felt that way too when the kids went back to school. Like, how are my kids like just supposed to pick up, with homework and activities and odds and ends like that when their dad just died? So I don't know. I mean, you just do it. I don't know. I don't know even how else to say it. You just kind of put one foot in front of the other and you just wake up, you walk the dog, you get the backpacks ready, you make the lunches, and you just keep doing it over and over and over again. And
Did you
I don't know.
talk a lot? I have to imagine your personality that you talked a lot about him with the kids,
I try to. Yeah. Hmm.
like keeping him a part of
Yeah.
everything still.
Kind of. And I would, because I'm like, well, he's still a part of our family. I'm still married to him, and he's still your dad. He just is in a different place right now and doing something else. But yeah, I would try to like talk about him and like remember this, remember that. about, and like pictures, I, got pictures and put them around the house and all that kind of stuff. And just to keep him a part of things, and Ruby hated that. I remember talking about Matt once and she was like, why do you always have to bring him up? And I'm like, because he's your dad. Like it's what I'm going to do. I remember so Matt's mom actually passed away in like 2017, and Matt and his dad like never talked about her ever. And I would always be the one to bring her up, like, oh, remember Grammy Price did this, or she brought you this, or, remember when she took us here or whatever. And I'm like, why are they not talking? And I just thought, no offense to them, but I just thought that was weird. Like, if I die and no one talks about me, I'm going to come back and haunt them because like, that's the whole thing is like, remember your kindred dead. And, it's my husband and the kid's dad. And yeah, I'm going to talk about him. Like it was. So like I said, I'm a firm believer in talking, and maybe not everyone wants to hear it, but
How did did you notice anything with the way they responded or acted after this?
so like my son George, he was probably 11 at the time. He actually talked to me a lot about Matt. And, he would tell me like when he missed him, or remember when dad would do this, or, I miss him because of this, or, like just different things. Belle, at some point, I remember asking Belle like what she remembered of the night that he died. And, we talked about that. Hannah like really wanted to make like a book, she just took like a notebook and put pictures in it and stuff and wrote down little memories and whatnot. And it was funny because just a few weeks ago, she was like, Mom, do you know where my notebook went with Dad's pictures in it? And I was like, no, I haven't seen it. She was like, oh, I think I threw it away. And I was like, what? Why'd you throw it away? She was like, because every time I looked at it, my stomach hurt. And I was like, oh, girlfriend. I was like, why do my kids have to go through this? Like I feel it. I feel every heartache that they feel about this, and I think they don't know how to deal with grief. I don't even know how to deal with grief. I'm 47 years old and I'm like still learning how to do this. This is my first experience with death and grief and loss, and it's my husband. And here my kids are so young having to deal with this. So I don't know.
It's an example of how, number one, everyone goes through grief differently. Everyone does. And I believe our personalities play a big part in that. Some people are talkers. They like to talk. Some people do not want to cry. So they will do everything to avoid that. So we're not talking about it. We're not going there. We're just in denial maybe, or just ignore it. Let's just not talk about it. I know for myself, there are times where I'm like, well, if I say this right now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to start crying. So maybe we'll just scoot around that one, depending on where I'm at or who I'm with, or, I think there's moments, but ooh, grief is just such a tricky thing that you don't get to prepare for. You don't, because I don't care if you, like you said, the woman in your ward whose husband passed from cancer, they knew it was coming. Like you said, does not make it any easier. It's not like you can physically prepare, but you can't emotionally. You just can't. You can't emotionally prepare. I remember one of the things, and I'd be interested to know what things surprised you about after he passed. 'Cause I know one thing for me, and my mom had kind of told me this. She kind of prepared me for this, and I'm glad she did, because I'm like, oh, it's so true. When the day after my dad passed, we were driving, I think, back home from the funeral home, making plans for the funeral and all that kind of stuff. And she said, I remember the thing that was hard for me after my dad died was I would think of something or see something or hear something, and I would think to go tell him. And it was like, oh yeah, I can't do that, and I'm like, that was so real. It was those moments where I'm like, oh, he needs to hear this song, or he needs to, he would love this. I'm like, woo, cannot tell him. But then that's where I think for us, at least for me, I should say, but for people who believe what we believe, I choose to believe that my dad hears and sees everything that I do that I want him to see, and I'm like, no, he saw that. He knows. And that makes me feel better.
No, just like what you said about like I remember the kids would do something, especially Lulu. She's such a little cutie, you know, and Matt and Lulu
She's your
love,
youngest, right?
yeah, Lulu's the littlest. And Matt loved her. She was his baby, you know, like he was home during COVID and he got to help like put her to bed and feed her and just be with her more than any of the other kids when they were little. So I remember just adorable things that she would do. And I'm like, oh, I just want to tell him, you know, I want him to see her, you know, doing all these adorable, fun, sweet little things. Same with all the kids, you know, like I wish he was there. Another stupid thing is like we love to send reels to each other on Instagram.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. And there would be so many things where I'm like, I just want to send this.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
but, you know, it's just like funny or political or whatever. And I'm like, I can't. He's not there. He's not checking Instagram in heaven, you know? So stupid.
I can confirm though that I know someone who does still send them.
Oh,
She'll
really?
still send them. She said,
Oh, that's
I know she's not getting them, but I'm still sending them. And I'm like,
oh my
love
gosh.
that. I
Oh,
love how people do things differently. I love it.
I love that. I actually really love that. Makes me wish I would have been sending him these all along. Then I could look back at it, you
Right.
know? No, that's
Yeah.
sweet.
Let's talk because you're a mom of 5 kids financially. How did you deal with this? Honestly,
So I don't know how much of this you want to hear, but
all of it.
Matt, my dearly departed husband, uh, so yeah, nothing was in order. I mean, our finances, he made really good money. Our finances were just, we were not good with money. He did not have a lot of life insurance. I don't know if I should disclose this. I'm sure up in heaven, he's just like, Mary, why are you telling everyone that I did not have life insurance? So he only had 50,000 in life insurance. There were a lot of accounts, like retirement account. Gosh, it's so funny because I remember over the past, let's say like 5, 6 years, I'm like, Matt, we need to get your retirement accounts in one place. Like, can we start doing that? So like one day we're not going to have to flounder around trying to find all this.
Yeah.
Well, he dies, nothing, everything. You know, he's probably had like 10 jobs since we've been married and the retirement accounts are everywhere, you know, and we don't have a will. We don't have, there were some like utilities that I was not on. There are accounts that I was not on. And this is where Julie comes into play. My friend Julie, who had just helped, she helped me with everything. She helped
Oh,
me,
wow.
um, understand the things I needed to do. And actually my sister-in-law, Melanie, she actually gave me this to-do list of like, make sure you cancel his credit cards, tell all the credit, what are those things called? Like
Like debt collectors or
well, like the like Experian or I don't know, like what are those things called? Where they check your credit, you know, credit
oh,
reporters.
okay. Okay.
So she's like, make sure you know, tell them he's died, like send, you know, make sure you get a lot of,
Death certificate.
yeah, death certificate. Make sure you have a lot of those so you can send them to all the different things that need proof of his death, you know, and
Yeah.
it was just this super to-do list. And so every day I would just try to check something off. One thing that really helped is Julie. So Julie's husband used to be a senator for the state of California. And I don't know if everyone has this experience, but Social Security. So as a widow, I'm entitled to Social Security benefits. Survivor benefits is what they're called. And trying to get through to the Social Security office is a nightmare. The wait list, no one gets back to you. The wait list is long and
Oh,
terrible and no one is responsive. So Julie's husband, John, called, still has contacts in the government. He called the actual like Social Security person in the government and he's like, hey, I have this friend who needs to get this going. And so I got a phone call an hour later saying like, okay, your appointment is then, you know, this is what you need to have. Like someone will call you and, you know, get this going for you. And I'm like, what do normal people who don't have, you know, who aren't friends with a state senator,
yeah.
what do? They have to wait 6 months for this to go through. Like I didn't have any money. I needed that money. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so, you know, during all of this traumatic, like, you know, stuff that I'm trying to go through, but I don't know, just having these little blessings that pop up here and there, like John and Julie helping me with all these things and trying to organize my finances and figure out what our next steps are and all that. It was a joke. It was, but you know what? I have to say, like, I'm super proud of myself that I was able to do it. And I'm not perfect, but I definitely have a good handle on everything now, and
Yeah.
I think part of my anger came, I mean, yeah, I dealt with anger a lot, and a lot of it was over the financial situation that Matt left me in. And honestly, I hate to like have that be such a thing, but it really is. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
where, I mean, the kid's going to be homeless? Do we have to go live with family? I mean, I didn't want that. We have a great life. We're comfortable, and there were so many unknowns. And I was just like, Matt, how could you do this? He was a
Yeah.
smart guy, and he did not have sufficient life insurance for a wife and 5 kids. Like, that killed me.
And I'm happy that you say that because I think I know after grief, like after a death, a lot of emotions come up. And you do feel like, do I have a right to be angry? Like it's like he has a past now, right? I can't be mad at him. And it's like, oh no. Emotions are real. We don't get to control those. We get to decide what we do with them, but we don't get to control them coming. And I think that's a very valid concern, especially when it's something that you're like, I've been asking you to do this, and
I know. And we would joke. Me and Matt were very jokey, like, oh, Matt, how much life insurance do you have? And he actually, with the job that he had the year before, because he had just started a new job, he had like 400,000. And we're like, oh, okay, like that's so great or whatever. And I don't know what happened that he only had 50,000. Like, I don't know why any corporation would even offer $50,000,
no,
like that's such a measly amount.
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if he just checked a box and was just like, I don't know. When he filled out paperwork, I have no idea. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it, but it was, I think he thought he had more than he did, but yeah.
But I think this is so good because I think people our age and younger don't think about these things,
Oh
obviously.
my
We all
gosh.
think we're
Always
gonna live
think about it.
forever.
Yeah.
I know.
No, it needs to be thought of.
Yeah, and I've told you, I had a friend right after I got home from the mission whose husband passed away. And they didn't have any kids. They were only married 8 months. They didn't have kids yet or anything. It was heartbreaking. It was absolutely just heartbreaking. But I remember her telling me, when you get married, make sure you put your name on everything, like both of your names on everything. Because there were things, like you said, his name, it was in his name, or you don't have access to those things. And um all these little tips, and obviously life insurance. I mean, we got life insurance young when we first got married just because of that experience. We wouldn't have otherwise. I don't know that we would have, but because of what she went through and what we watched, or at least what I watched, I was like, okay, we've got to, you know what I mean? So I hope that people listening to this will listen and hear like, okay, maybe we do need to get on that, because I could be in her position with my kids and be like, what do I do now? So
So many thoughts about that. I mean, so I the culture of our church, it's like the man, I don't know, and maybe I've misread this, right? But the man, the husband is kind of in charge, right? And so Matt kind of took that role. And you know what? I don't like finances. I don't want to deal with bills. Like, I was glad that he took all that stuff and was like, no, I got it. Like, no worries, or whatever. But looking back, I wish I would have been more involved always, not just in the past 5 years or whatever, but like, yes, I think as a partnership, like everyone needs to be on utilities, on accounts, you need to know where money is, what money you have, all of that. Like, I think as women in the church, sometimes we are like, ignorance is bliss, like the
yeah,
husband's got it, like they're going to take care of it for me. And I remember actually that's one thing that I like, all these friends would just come over, that week after Matt died and stuff, and visit me and bring me stuff or whatever. And I was like, you guys, I was like, I don't know. It was, oh gosh, this is going to sound weird too, but I was like, honestly, I was like, number one, make sure. I was like, if this has taught me nothing else, I'm going to bear my testimony about women needing to know what is going on with all their finances. And so I told all of my friends who came in, like, make sure your husband has life insurance, make sure he has, everything in order, because this is crazy. And I remember thinking, I'm glad it's happening to me though, and not everyone else, like, I don't know,
Oh.
that was weird. I remember like, just, like, why me? Well, why not me? Like, this could happen to anyone.
Can I just say though, when it did happen, because I saw it on social media, that's how I learned about it, and which I would expect that's where I learned about it. But I remember thinking, and I probably even told Cameron this, if anyone can do this, it's her. I said, yes. I said, I know her. Obviously, I know her. We live together. and I said, if anyone, and I talk about this when I talk about the color code, because it's just how my brain thinks. I think of in colors, and I believe that we were given our color to help us get through our lives. I feel like we are given our color and the traits and the strengths of our color and our personality to help us through the specific trials that we will face. There will be other trials that you'd probably look at and be like, there's no way I could never go through something like that. And not that anyone would choose what you have been through, but like I said, when I saw it, I was like, I don't worry about her. I don't. I know it's going to be hard. I'm not saying she's going to fly through this like it's nothing. I'm saying she has a light in her. She has a natural disposition to be happy and positive. She's real. She's going to keep it real so people will know where to step in, where to help her. She'll ask for help if she needs it, and she'll accept help from people, but she can carry her kids through this. I know she can. I know she can do this. She's not going to shut down. She may have moments of shutting down, but she will not shut down. That's not her personality. I mean, there were, and I have experience from living with you and going through things with you where I was like, why are we here? Like just being so frustrated and being like, what is happening here? And and then you would just, well, let's go get a Coke. Let's take a break. Let's go get a
Let's
Coke.
reframe. Let's like get out of our funk and go do something else.
Yes, that's your personality. You were so good for me. You were so good for me. And so I'm like, no, she can do this. She can do this. She will be okay. I did.
Whew. There were so many days when I did not think I could do it, but like I said, I don't know, just, and I have to say, like, Lulu, my littlest, my 4-year-old now, I remember getting pregnant with her and I was like, really? Like, I'm 42 having a baby. Like, you could have knocked me over with a feather. But that girl has been my saving grace. She has gotten me out of bed. She gets me doing stuff, and I feel like she came at the exact time when she needed to come. But I mean, she's definitely, obviously, all the kids, but they're much more self sufficient and can do their own thing. But Lulu just got me going and made me realize I can do these things, like get out of bed. I hated getting out of bed when Matt was alive. I hate getting out of bed now. I have to get dressed right away. I have to walk the dog. I have to get kids breakfast, I mean, all of this stuff that I am not a morning person, I'm not a night person either. I'm like a tired pigeon, midday pigeon or whatever. But like, it's just so, I don't know, just, it's been she's been such a blessing to just keep me going.
Well, this has been so good. I'm so grateful that you were willing to do this because I'm like, I need people to hear this. I need people to hear from her about.
I hope it helps someone. Yeah, no, it's death sucks. I have to say death sucks. I mean, it never comes at a good time. Um Actually, it's funny because like with President Nelson passing away recently, I'm like, like who is going to mourn him? Like, he lived an amazing life. He was 101 years old. I was like, I do not mourn any old person who dies. Like, to have a life where, they've lived and hopefully things, they've had a good life and whatever. But I don't know. I think when someone dies young, like that's the heartbreak. Like Matt was in the prime of his life. He had just started a new job. We had all these kids. We had plans. We had hopes and dreams, and that kind of just knocked me off my feet. But I remember going to like the first state conference after he had passed away. And I see all these old people sitting together. And I was like, ooh, I hate you. I was like, you have no idea how lucky you are that you got to grow old together, and even now I look at like my friend Sarah, who lives in our neighborhood, and I see her when her husband comes home, and just, it's like the relief, right? When Matt would come home and I'm like, ha, take Lulu, like, let me make dinner. Let's, we got to do this, we got to do that, like, just to have that help and the companionship. And I see Sarah and Jeff coming home, and I'm like, I don't hate them. I'm just like, ugh. Like, you have no idea how awesome that is to be married and to have a husband and to have a companion. And death sucks. Either any way it comes, through sickness or disease or, unexpected. It just, it sucks.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Um, okay, so final question. If you were sitting and talking to, let's say, a woman who has little kids or just has kids and just her, unexpectedly lost her husband, what would you want her to know that first moment, that first day?
That's a whopper of a question. First I would say and cry with her. Because I can feel that pain, and just the uncertainty of your future, but I would tell her that you will be fine, and um so stupid and cliche, but like, seriously, time heals, I mean, it's coming up on 2 years, and I still miss Matt. I was just talking to my friend Brittany this morning about him. So that doesn't go away, but it gets easier, like life. There have been times when I actually feel happy now, and I'm like, this time last year, I didn't think I could feel happy. I didn't think I could feel hope for the future or confidence in myself or whatever. But if I had someone sitting in front of me who just lost their spouse, I would just say, like, you can do this. And if you can't, then you call me. You call someone, you call a friend. If you feel like you get to that point, then just make sure you are with people who can help you and be with you, because that really, I think there's a lot to be said for human connection when you go through grief, and any trial really is just to know someone has your back and to know that someone is there helping carry you through these horrible, hard times, but I don't know. And to rely on God. I honestly, I have to say, I didn't. I was Another anger issue is with God. Like, I've always been active. I've always had faith and a testimony. And this really threw me for a loop where I was like, seriously, God, like, you take my husband. I have all these kids at home. We're financially unstable now. What is the point of this? Like, how could you do this and whatever? And I guess it goes back to the question, like, why not? Like, why? And it's taken me, almost 2 years to get to a point where I'm like, okay, God, I am going to be tested and I am going to be tried and go through ups and downs. And some days I feel like I'm an emotional basket case, but I've learned to rely on him and to trust his plan, which is, it's easy to say, right? In the past 47, 46 years, when I would, let's trust in the plan of salvation. Let's trust in God's plan for us or whatever. And now that I actually have to trust in it, I'm like, easier said than done. It's like, okay, like, I don't know what this trust looks like, but I'm just going to keep going to church. I can't imagine going through something like this and not having God in your corner, you know?
Yeah.
So
He's like he's the one that makes sense of the stuff that does not make sense.
totally. He totally does. And even, I mean, it doesn't make sense though still, but it's okay because I know that okay, let's see if I can say this. He knows how it's going to turn out, I don't know why my kids lost their dad. I don't know why I have to go through loneliness and, just have the life of a single mom and be single. I'm going to a singles activity tomorrow. Barfarama, like, I don't want to be single. I liked being married, you know? But I figure, even if I could help some other woman who goes through this, or if my kids maybe have a friend who lose a dad, like, somehow there are blessings that come from these horrible things. It's so weird. It's so weird how Heavenly Father works, but I know he does work. I know that there is like something in some magic. I like to call it magic, like some magic that he is performing in my life and with my kids and even with Matt, you know? Like, why is Matt really happier on the other side? Like, did Heavenly Father really need him there versus here? Like, what's that all about? And whatever it is, like, just, I don't know. There's something that's going to work to our benefit and we'll be blessed in the end.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you said about, maybe we do go through this, so when someone else goes through it, we can then, help them, and that is a good feeling. I mean, that is a good feeling when you're like, "Oh, I know exactly what you're feeling right now." Like, exactly. Um, I could be the one to help you, and you have a purpose, and it puts some purpose to the pain, I guess, of what we go through.
It's honestly, I think there's so much to be said to have someone who's gone through this. I can talk about Matt. I can talk about my experience with anyone, right? I've talked many times with many people about this. There's just no way to understand it unless you've gone through it. I remember, so the woman that I mentioned, her husband died about a month after Matt. I remember we went to like the word Halloween party last year, and I see her just sitting by herself at a table, and I go up and sit with her. And like I said, she's kind of a she's an introvert for sure. Yeah, she's very quiet and whatever. And I just go and sit with her and ask her how she's doing. And she's just like, and she just opens the floodgates. Not like crying, but like she just starts talking and she's like, I feel like I can tell you this because you know what I'm going through, And I was glad that I was able to because even like my social, I mean, I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love talking. I love socializing. I love anything. And since Matt has died, I have closed in on myself. Like, I do not want to do anything. And I even going to like a Halloween party or any sort of activity gives me like anxiety now. But going, even like the thought of going up and talking to her, but I was like, just go up and talk to her. Like, she's sitting by herself and whatever. And so, but I was like really thankful that I did that and we could just commiserate and mourn together, the loss of our husbands, and she could like just let it out. Cause it's hard to, I mean, for her especially, it's probably hard to take such I don't know, I'm going to say a sacred, a personal, a hard thing that you've gone through and just give it to anyone. Me, I can do that. But I think for some people, like that is a very personal thing. And to just, talk about how much you miss your husband to any old soul, like they're not going to get that.
I love that. I love that you did that. I'm sure that she felt like, "Oh yeah, I can say everything to you. You get it."
Yeah, no, it was nice. And so
That's
I've
beautiful.
actually thought about being a grief counselor. I don't know. I
Well,
think,
I would love it. I would love it. You have such a great personality. You have such a welcoming, loving, like, I guarantee people are gonna listen to this and be like, "I wanna be her friend. I wanna be."
oh, oh, tell them to come be my friend. I really need friends right now.
Yeah, you're just the best. I think you would do awesome with that. I'm so happy you did this. Thank you so much for coming on. It was absolutely perfect, and I'm so grateful because like I said, I just knew people were gonna love you, and I'm like, people need to hear this for all the reasons, and it was absolutely perfect. So thank you for doing this.